We've already opened the meeting, however, we have not done the pledge yet, so please stand for the pledge and remain standing after. Councilor Ryan.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing. I'd like to have a moment of silence for two individuals, and we haven't met in a couple of weeks, but first of all, 30-year-old State Trooper Kevin Trainer began his career as a corrections officer in Essex County and became a member of the Massachusetts State Police in 2023. Colonel Noble of the State Troopers stated that, make no mistake, Trooper Trainer saved lives. His courage, his commitment to serve citizens of the Commonwealth, put his life on the line, prevented an even greater tragedy. He will be remembered as a hero. He took immense pride in protecting and serving the people of the Commonwealth and formed strong bonds with the men and women alongside when he served. Trooper Trainer leaves behind his mother, fiance, and 4 siblings. There's also a great sadness that we acknowledge a member of our own. John Lyons worked for the Winthrop DPW for almost 5 years as a mechanic. He sadly passed away on May 6th at the age of 50 years old. He was a loving husband of the late Marissa Lyons. He was survived by his mother Janice and many of his family members. Those who knew John will remember him as a good person with a generous spirit and a warm heart. He was a mechanic who could find a way to fix anything, and his knowledge in this field was immense. His sorry that was passed. Please ask for one. Minutes were circulated for the meeting from May 5th, 2026.
Recording in progress.
Do I have a motion to approve? Motion by Councilor Dimes, second by Councilor Romano. Discussion on the minutes. Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those no, the ayes have it. There's always a tremendous event when we're able to promote our fire department or our police department. Here tonight, we're extremely proud of the 2 officers. When we leave the police department, we're going to be promoted to sergeant, Officer Connolly and Officer Brown. I'd like to turn this over to Chief Goodwin and our town clerk. If the chief would like to say a little something first.
Say a few words about Officer Connolly. He's been probably in the forefront of our narcotics investigation since 2018, Mike? 2019. Fantastic job. Appreciate all his hard work. His personality, his edginess makes him perfect for that position. Dave Brown, senior guy, been around for 30, Dave? 30 years. It's always nice to see someone with that many years and move up. Dave's probably the most competitive guy I've ever met. Recently won the Big Loser Award in the police department for losing the most weight. Dedicated his life to coaching kids. Very well respected in that arena. Recently state champion in St. Mary's years ago. It's a great honor to have him move up, and I'm looking forward to working with him.
Thank you very much. I'll ask our town clerk, Denise Quist, on the oath.
As you can see, I didn't win that award either. Putting this uniform on tonight, it was a struggle. You look.
Sergeant Brown, so to stand up, please. And you say I do after. I, David Brown, do solemnly swear that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and will support the Constitution thereof and the Constitution of the United States. That I will obey the lawful orders of all my superior officers, and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge and perform all the duties incumbent on me as sergeant for the town of Winthrop, according to the best of my abilities and understanding, agreeably to the rules and regulations of the Constitution and the laws of the Commonwealth and the United States. So help me God.
I do.
Congratulations, sir. Conley. Yeah, please. I, Michael Conley, do solemnly swear that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and will support the Constitution thereof and the Constitution of the United States, that I will obey the lawful orders of all my superior officers, and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge and perform all the duties incumbent on me as a sergeant for the town of Winthrop, according to the best of my ability and understanding, agreeably to the rules and regulations of the Constitution and the laws of the Commonwealth and the United States. So help me God.
I do.
Congratulations. Okay. Now we will.
Last Chief Goodwin to come back up.
Guys, can you come up and have your pen? Who's holding your pen?
Yes, yes.
Right?
We're so fortunate and blessed to have the two officers as well as the entire police department. Gives us all comfort when we go to sleep every night. You guys work 7/24 and we're incredibly appreciative of that. Thank you for your service. Thank you.
We have some coffee and refreshments upstairs for anybody who wants to join us up in the lobby. The middle. Middle child.
Hey, baby.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're fine.
See, I'll sit next to you. Next to you, John. Smart. Wow. See how it goes today.
Also asked our Director of Health, Meredith Early, to come and explain some of the stuff from her department. Now, I've never seen Meredith clear a room like this, but
Don't mind.
talk about being grateful, and we've been blessed with Meredith, especially over the last 5 or 6 years through COVID and such. But thank her day in and day out for her work in this town that she loves so much. So I'm going to give the floor to Meredith to talk a little bit about this.
Thank you very much. Thanks so much for inviting me tonight to chat a bit about our program that we are going to be launching. So first of all, I have to really give all of this credit to the Commission on Disabilities. In particular, John Morgan has been pushing for a program like this in our community for about, 18 months, at least a year and a half now, if not longer. So we're finally able, we're this close to getting it launched. I know that you all appropriated the money for it through the Commission on Disabilities Fund. So this is the safety net program. So next slide, please. So who is this program for? So really this is for anybody that is at risk of wandering. So it really started as an initiative for elders with Alzheimer's, dementia, cognitive decline, but now we're seeing, so this is also a program that has been launched in Chelsea. So what we're seeing is for children with neurodivergence, for example, like autism spectrum disorder, that we are worried about wandering away from their homes. This is also excellent for them. So those are kind of the two buckets of folks that we're thinking will be utilizing this. So we've done outreach to families already that have experienced, mainly who have called for emergency services for either an elder that wanders away or a child that wanders away. And we came up with a list of about 15 to 20 families. We now have about 12 that, somewhere between 10 and 12 that have said that they do want to commit to this program. We also, interestingly, just got 2 additional phone calls today from folks that weren't even on our radar. So those are the folks that we're thinking will be the high utilizers of this program. Next slide, please. So this is what it looks like. So it uses radio frequency. So I was just talking to former Chief Delahanty. It's almost like LoJack that we used to have in our cars. And the question usually is asked, why radio frequency versus GPS? But this will work where when GPS or cellular service is not available. It also can work in shallow water, which in our community, we're very worried about any of our kids that have neurodivergence, because they often are seeking water, and we are surrounded so much by the water. So this bracelet that's secured on the wrist of an at-risk individual, it has like a locking mechanism, so they really can't take it off. And then we are going to have 2 to 3 of our public safety vehicles will be getting installed with frequency readers. So I think you all know that we have a public health vehicle, so that's going to go in one of ours. Also one of the police Tahoes and one of the fire Tahoes. And then if the person wanders, a caregiver calls 911, and the radio frequency that's assigned to them will be tracked. It'll be activated and tracked with the vehicles. So it's a starting point of like where the person left from. And then they kind of go out in a, really like essentially like driving up and down streets, looking for the pinging. So next slide. So the funding, like I said, was provided by the Commission on Disabilities. We're going to be purchasing 12 to 15 transmitters initially, and 2 to 3 locator tracker kits. So how it's going to roll out is that public health and public safety will be trained on the safety net system by the company. They're going to come here and do I think it's an 8-hour training, but then anybody that's trained then becomes a trainer themselves. So it's a one-time training, and then we'll be able to do it in-house. Public health staff will enroll individuals and provide education to the families and caregivers about how to use the system, highlighting the importance of not delaying calling for help. And we are working with the City of Chelsea, particularly their emergency manager and also their public health director, because they rolled this out about 18 months ago. And so they have some like great tips that about what was working for them and what hasn't worked for them. So so I think we're meeting with them next week, so that we can figure out, once we actually have the trackers in and also the transmitters installed, how do we do that? So there are a couple of different programs, Safety Net being one of them, but we decided to go with Safety Net because, like I said, Chelsea is using them, and it's already installed on the State Police Air Wing. It's on the underbelly of one of their helicopters, so if they're searching for somebody that they can, and the state police are also helping. They already have the transponders like attached to their helicopters. That's really it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Fortunate enough to see you at the Finance Commission meeting when you were doing your presentation.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
just it's so great, and a lot of people don't get to understand some of the stuff. And we had talked about safety net a couple of weeks ago. I was just talking more about the Alzheimer's version of what it was meant for originally, but it's just so much more to it. Any comments, Vice President?
Great. Is there a behavioral program to approach reduction of wandering?
No, I mean, I think really just linking into whatever services they're already, we talk with families and they're so, the stress level that, that caregivers are under, we try to support them a lot of times, like through the stress of navigating systems and everything else, but I don't think that they're, a lot of, for the kids that, as I think about like the kids, within like their educational kind of programs and things like that, I do think that they do provide education to the families about how to, kind of put in some barriers and things like
Yeah,
that.
to reduce it, and there's reinforcements to, of course, make sure they don't do that, but I do think that's a possible link and possible another source of funding.
Yeah.
Never
It's
think
all
about funding. Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? Councilor Testani, thank you.
Thank you, Director Hurley. This is great. Can't wait till we put it into action. Thank you for a presentation at the Finance Commission meeting as well. Just a quick question about the program. So we know that Chelsea's using it. Do we know about Boston and Revere? Because it really wouldn't take much for one of our wanderers to make their way over to Revere, Beachmont, or over to East Boston. So do we have any assistance from those or partnerships with Revere and Boston on this yet?
On that yet. So we think that Revere has purchased it but didn't roll it out yet. So with the regional dispatch that's coming online for Winthrop, Revere, and Chelsea, we think that there's an opportunity to figure out how to get Revere to either start using it or purchase it and start using it. So we operate with the North Suffolk Public Health Collaborative, which I have talked about before. So and I have a great relationship with my counterpart in Revere, and so that's just another person that can help advocate for it. Because exactly, like Chelsea, I think 6 months after they rolled out the program, it was January of last year of 2025, autistic child, teenager, had walked away from his house and got on a city bus. He loved city buses. And they actually were able to shut down all the T-buses for a short amount of time. And they said that it took about 30 minutes to be able to find him because they had every city bus park. And then they found him on one of the, he was heading to Haymarket, but they found him within under 30 minutes. So yeah, I mean, you think of a city bus that, even just the buses that travel, so there is that opportunity, and the transit already is aware of the program and how to utilize it as well.
Thank you.
We can't thank you enough, Meredith.
No, thank you. Thank you for having me. You guys have to say thank you. Thank you, John.
As a member of the Commission on Disability, we are proud that we found this out and that we were able to get Meredith on board, and we hope it's successful, but we also hope that it never has to be used.
Yes, thank you. Well said, John. Well said.
Good night, Meredith.
Public hearings has none. Before I open up for public comment, I will say there was a comment, and I've had a few offline, I'm sure other councils too, on the audio that we've been having some issues within the room. I did talk to Mike Cabral, and I actually just texted him a couple of minutes ago. And they seem to have, they addressed some sort of device that they switched out and seems to be good right now. So again, if there are comments, if there are audio issues out there, please feel free to let us know, or WCAT. But thank you to Mike Cabral and his staff and the Winthrop staff also for trying to turn that over quickly. Public comment.
Okay.
Last.
Hi, Marcy Hamilton, Precinct 2. I was listening to the last week's, 2 weeks ago, the last meeting, and I was quite concerned with, I think Mr. Costigan, I won't address people, but with the thought of getting Tileston, Girdlestone done cheaper. And I know there's going to be a presentation coming forward to see all the financial happenings of that project on the final phase. I believe we're in the final phase of the climate action plan for Winthrop. And I just want you to know that we don't want cheaper, we want it done right. And I know that this town is in financial distress for numerous reasons, but this is caused by climate and neglect. So this has to be fixed properly with the idea that climate is changing. The climate is not going away. Our climate issues are not going away. They are happening. So we do have to do it thinking 10 years, 20 years ahead of what's happening now. And I know this board is particular to certain financial issues going forward, but those are issues of zoning that might happen, may not happen. But this is happening now to real residents in this town, and it needs to be addressed and fixed properly and not cheaply. Thank you.
Thank you. Celeste.
Hi, Celeste Rivera, Hewitt, Precinct 1. I just wanted to thank you for having Meredith here and doing her presentation. We, CVICR, had a meeting last week. We wanted to open up the group to the public just to kind of get some input from folks. We had a lovely couple that dropped in, and the primary question they asked us is, what does diversity and inclusion mean to us? And I said, thank you for asking that question. And it really means, and we take the role seriously, to support and uplift every demographic here in town, to be kind of a conduit to get people's needs heard, make sure that everybody is visible, is supported, and is seen. And their follow-up to that was wonderful, because our grandson spends a lot of time here with us in Winthrop, and he's moving to Winthrop, and he's neurodivergent. And he has a lot of sensory overload, and the way he offloads that is exploring the town. And one of their biggest accessibility concerns was the intersections and the roadways, and trying to find a way to navigate town and go on a walk and explore the town safely. And especially for him, he's a teen and he operates at a little bit of a different level. Usually he's accompanied by his grandparents, but again, they want them to be able to do so safely. So I think that this, this resource is going to be great for him, but I think, being tuned in to folks that kind of operate and navigate differently and need a little bit of support is really important. And I'm excited to see this get implemented in town along with other resources. And then just to kind of echo their concern that we do a little bit more with some of the signals and think about what it's like for other people. I know John does a wonderful job of navigating town and reporting back to us and some of the challenges he faces, and really just kind of being tuned into that. Thanks.
Thank you.
Mark Senate, Precinct 2. I wanted to touch on what Pat said 2 weeks ago about the easement. However that easement over at the yacht club got built on, I really don't care about built on. They violated the law. So I don't know why we're negotiating with the yacht club. We should be telling them where the new easement is gonna go. They've built over the old one, we need a new one. So I don't think there should be any negotiation there whatsoever. I know the project is going to involve, I think, a vault of some sort for the pumps. I could be wrong, but I haven't seen it yet. I don't think everybody realizes what goes on over there in the winter. Come fall, all those boats come out of the water and go on that land, and only about 20% of that parking lot is available for parking. So there's a real concern if we have another emergency like we did this past year. Access to the pumps, activating or however. But I imagine there's going to be a vault of some sort in the ground for those pumps. So if we can't get at them, we got a real problem again. So we really have to rethink that thing and just how we're gonna go about it. And we can't go towards the building because that's where the gas tanks are. I know for a fact. So again, you know, we shouldn't be asking them and bargaining whatsoever. We should just be telling them where it's gonna go because of what they did. Not what we did, what they did. So that's all I have to say about it.
Thank you.
Terry Delaney, Precinct 6, just wanted to give a general comment on the budget. Since we're in budget cycle, it's good to see Meredith here. It reminded me of the days where we were pre-COVID, and we had one part-time public health nurse, and we have come so far in our public health division to have peer coaches, counselors, resource advocates, and now this program here tonight that increases the LoJack program that was years ago that really wasn't sufficient. We would have to have an antenna and walk around with it. Now you can use your cars and really pick up GPS signals. Much better system. But my fear is that as we go through the budget process, we start looking for money. And Winthrop's not the only one looking for money. I was reading in the Globe this week earlier that Chelsea is also finding it difficult to fund certain departments in their city. And they're looking for ways to recapture finances. And so I think we're gonna, at some point, we're gonna be come to the realization that we might have to make cuts or have another override, right? Maybe not this year, maybe next year, maybe 2 years down the line. But the importance of Meredith's programs should not be undersold. It took us almost 10 years to build that department, and they do a great job. They work with the police department and the fire department. They're interlinked, much like the DPW. That's your public safety team. So whatever you have to do, and I know Karen's aware of this, every bit of resources that that we get cut over there, we have to look for how are we going to replace that. And I'm just saying, gas prices, grocery prices, and everything else, and then the federal money coming through is obviously going to slow down as a result of the war in Iran. So the flexibility of state funding and federal funding is going to evaporate. And I know Meredith's done a great job and brought millions of dollars in from those programs already. So, thank you.
Thank you, Tim. You want to Zoom?
Eileen, can you hear me? Eileen, can you hear me? Lee Foley.
Hello?
Yes, Lee.
Sorry, no, I can't hear you. Hold on one second. Sorry, now can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, sorry, hi, Lee Foley, Precinct 6. I just have two quick comments. One is that I submitted a public records request at the April 7th meeting for the phone records of a few counselors, and I have not received anything, and I think the due date passed about 2.5 weeks ago. And I would just like to remind counselors that, we do have a right to see that if any town business was discussed. And the other comment I wanted to make was thank you very much for the unanimous vote for raising the pride flag. And I'm just wondering what changed the minds of councilors who had previously voted no on that. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone? Great. Correspondence, Denise?
No.
Committee reports? Rules, Denise?
Yes, we met on May 12th at 5:30 p.m. here in the Harvey hearing room. Our topics we covered, we had another discussion about the vote to approve the video recordings. We did choose to continue that one to get a little bit additional more information for it.
We didn't really discuss the houseboat ordinance, it was on the agenda, we did send around the ordinance to have so we can review and get more information to have a better understanding of it. And matters in discussion with legal counsel, or the Winthrop Planning Board. The, Rule 2B and C, we didn't discuss that one really at all. We know that was pending some, also we did additional information on that. And then the tree committee, we didn't discuss that, that was pending more information also. And then the ordinance amendment for use variance, it did pass a packet round for this that will be uploaded with the minutes, which included the state 40A section 5 and 10, so we can better understand it. And also a guideline of how we're supposed to proceed when we approve something as a zoning change. It's not just rules and ordinances that says yes, move it forward. There's multiple steps that have to follow with that. So I gave an explanation in the packet as how that should move forward, so we, as rules and ordinances, will understand that also. Yes, we did not vote on anything.
Thank you. Councilor Swope. Public health and safety.
We met on, thank you. We met on April 29th, the Public Health and Safety and Public Works Committee meeting focused on accountability and transparency in public services with presentations from Meredith and from the police department. The public health director discussed their 5 strategies, priorities, including core services, public health and safety integration, advancing social detriments of health while highlighting challenges with fluctuating grant funding, particularly the loss of the equitable purchase to public safety grant. That's, by the way, across the country. It's not just Massachusetts, it's across the country. The police department presented data on crime trends, staffing challenges, and various funding sources, including the Urban Area Safety Initiative Program, which provides approximately $400,000 annually for equipment and training. Key discussions centered around drug-related incidents, domestic violence statistics, and the department's community outreach programs, including the Clear Team initiative that connects officers with public health services for individuals in crisis. The conversation ended with discussions about performance metrics, community awareness of public health services, and the need for better communication around the department's achievements and initiatives. I was struck by this group because Meredith we spent about 45 minutes on all of the programs that Meredith have and all the police department programs. And really, I think it would be an opportunity for the entire town to hear these, because I'm not sure that we all are familiar with everything that's going on. And the reason I think that's important is that when we understand all the work that they do, you understand better how the money's being spent, and that you can support that initiative or you can support that work, or not if you think it's not appropriate. But I do think, given those 2 presentations the other night were extremely beneficial, and I think we could coordinate better in organizing some kind of forum so we have budget and all of the initiatives and key performance indicators in one presentation. And our recommendation at the end of that meeting was to hold a strategic planning session for town council to draft written goals and discuss current issues, and also to have more directors come before the council and the public to share their goals, improvements, concerns, and future plans.
Thanks very much.
And then, you want to listen to us?
Yes.
Listening posts are always fun, because we have more free range on that one, trying to figure out
what we haven't done here. And I guess one of the interesting observations in that last meeting on April 29th was all of the things that we have here that maybe we don't always think about. For example, Sylvia Platt. Not many people maybe know, but she's a wonderful poet. Not many people know that Shirley Gutt which was here, which we had a great forum the other night, yesterday, Sunday, right? Sunday night, yesterday, at the Dean Whittier House.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was great to hear about that battle and all the things that went on. The other thing was, we thought clam bakes on the beach. We just discussed all sorts of ways. And so I'll be going to the chamber, we just think about ways that we could put some things together here, because if we can bring people here because we're a point of destination, that we're really a pretty exciting town and create business for restaurants and maybe small businesses, and the history that we have here, as well as the other things that are interesting in terms of the beach. It might be fun. The next meeting we're having is at the end of this month on the Listening Post. We'll be going to try to use Claude and AI and pull all these things together. I'm going to put everything in that I know about Winthrop and see if we can generate a lot of questions that we might be able to answer through Claude, and maybe those aren't the right answers, but at least it will be interesting. And finally, in the next meeting that we have, going back to our health safety committee, we're going to be talking about long-range planning as well as collaborative planning and interdepartmental coordination, and that's at the end of this month on Wednesday at 4:30 to 6. See you there, Tom.
Thank you. Thank you. School department report. School committee did meet prior to the meeting, or right after the meeting, a different night. There was a tentative agreement between the school committee and the WTA, which has been agreed upon between the subcommittee of the school committee and the leadership team of the WTA. There was going to be a spread, so to speak, in the transcript this week explaining the contract. However, we chose not to do that yet because the WTA still has to meet and ratify the contract. So once that's ratified and the school committee votes, there'll be a detailed explanation. So this contract, if ratified, would be for fiscal 26, which actually started last July 1st, and it will go through fiscal 28. So thank you to negotiating teams on both sides. It was a long process, and people are very passionate, and it's kind of, everybody wants to get to the same goal. Everybody wants the best for the kids, and it's just how to get there. So thank you to negotiating teams on both sides for that. And just a reminder that next Friday, the 29th, is graduation. A lot of times it's usually the first Friday in June, so just for clarification, it will be May 29th, 6 p.m. down at Millfield. Always a very special event, and I encourage people to take a look. Policy committee meetings, we have no. Our manager's report has been circulated. If Tony wants to speak a little bit and then open it up for questions.
Sure. One thing I didn't include in there, but just a reminder, and talk about the Memorial Day services coming up this Monday, the 25th. So it's same starting time. We'll assemble at the Winthrop Cemetery at 9:45, and then the speakers and ceremony that they do a great job on. So I just want to remind everybody of that. Also, we are trying. I know we get some budget stuff coming up. We are getting now the council. Our attorney, Jim Cipolletta, is drafting the easement language. We finally have that back for the Towson and Girlstone project. We are getting ready to get Woodard and Curran Committee to give the presentation that we talked about at the last meeting to go over that project in depth and what the easement. And I certainly can. We did do a title search. Attorney Cipolletta did. We did find the easement. It's and what the concern was that they didn't build on the easement. And I'll let Director Calley get into it, but it's only a 10-foot easement. And we're attempting to put a 5-foot stormwater pipe in there, which doesn't work in a 10-foot easement. Anybody knows the logistics of that, you can't fit in a 10-foot easement, which is why we needed to move up the street, which is what prompted that in the beginning. So I mean, George Callen wants to elaborate on that a little bit, but.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as Tony said, we're proposing to put a 5-foot outfall pipe. That's the design criteria for the project, that's what's needed. For every foot in diameter of pipe, you need approximately 4 feet width for a trench. You know? So for a 5-foot pipe, you need minimum of 20 feet, you know, to safely excavate and shore and get that pipe in the ground. So that's why we started to, you know, start the design work to reroute it into that other area. That's where we are now.
And again, more details to follow on that, but I just want to give the council an update on that.
Questions? Council Finn?
I'm good, thank you.
Council Lee?
Yes, I wanted to ask about, I wanted to ask, I know it's not on this, but about the Shirley Street project, the road paving, I know they started, is there a timeline on when that's gonna be done?
I didn't get the question.
On Shirley Street.
Shirley Street.
Paving,
Yeah, we just finished at 6 o'clock today, so.
so it's all set?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect, and then something I got suggested to me by a resident for the America 250 is, I know they have to repaint the center lines, could we do that red, white, and blue maybe, be a little more patriotic?
I received that request as well, and we looked into it. We have to look into how to do that, because the long-term cost of that is more costly than what people think, because it doesn't just come off, and you have to paint over it, and that paint doesn't hold up. So when you try to make it go back to yellow, you're sort of tied into doing red, white, and blue for a long period of time, or maybe forever. So that's something we'll have to weigh the options on, and maybe I'll get some costs for the council to consider, but it's not just as easy as painting it and then taking it off.
I figured it wasn't, but yeah, I'd like to see the cost, it might be something worth looking into, and if it's not worth it, then it's not worth it, but thank you.
Well.
All set.
Council Day?
Thank you, President Lettieri. I just wanted to comment on the 250th celebration. The meetings have been going spectacularly. We have lots of interest, lots of fun stuff gonna be happening. And we are looking for volunteers. We just wanna make that clear. Small increments of volunteer time. We'd like to have, we're gonna have continuous shuttle buses. They're gonna take people to and from the landing, stopping at various stops, municipal parking lots, French Square, etc. And we'd like to have like a steward of the town or a volunteer on the town on those shuttles to provide them with a copy of the shuttle schedule and maybe just point out the goings of what's going on and just be there to represent the town. So I volunteered to take the first couple hours on the shuttle starting at 11 till 1. And we're gonna run till 8 o'clock at night, so we're looking for, some other counselors or residents, whoever would like to, and it doesn't have to even be a 2-hour increment. Small, many hands make work, what is that saying? Many hands make the less work for everybody, so please consider lending a hand, and if not that, at least make sure that you put on your calendar to be at the public landing on July 3rd from 12 till 3 or 4 in the afternoon, because it's going to be a wonderful celebration to kick off the 250th birthday of our Thank you.
Vice President Swell?
Thank you. Tony? I shouldn't do this, I know. Town manager, sorry, I always say town, I don't mean this was all right. The climate grant that you received, that Cheryl received, are we gonna work on that? I know it's due May 30th.
Yeah, she's working on that application, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're working on putting something.
Because it looked as if we didn't have any restrictions on that.
Looks that way, yeah. Yeah, so she's working on that, yeah.
And so, what happened with the cool quarters? Did she ever contact
We
you?
haven't got, we've reached out a few times, we haven't heard anything back. I know you said you had some different conversations with them, but we haven't had those yet, so we're still working on it, but just right now, this answer that we got was a letter and it was still no, but we have been reaching out to them and trying to get some follow-up.
And nobody answers you, right?
No, not yet.
I think, and I said this to Cheryl, one of the problems that we're having is that so many people have left that position, so she may have a hard time finding a contact person that actually knows anything about it. So I spoke to her a couple of times about it, but I don't think we should let that go because they were clear that this had nothing to do with 3A and we should
Well, their letter said something, their email said something
Well,
else,
I
but yeah.
understand what their
Yeah.
email said, but I also understand what they say.
No, I know.
So,
They haven't said that to me yet, and I know you said
but
that.
you didn't talk to them yet,
Not
because you
yet.
can't reach them.
Okay.
So that's the other problem. The issue, we have a list of problems, I mean, a list of issues that people have brought to us. I know that Denise had a list of those.
Mhm.
Do we have any follow-ups on any, Denise, on any of those issues that have been brought to you?
Yep, I'll ensure I get it.
Yeah, I haven't sent out copies yet. I figured the beginning of June and stuff we'd start, but I'll get a copy to everybody.
Okay, but have we solved that? Have we solved anything? We just have a list.
We have a list. We reviewed a few things. The answers we don't know yet, but we have reviewed.
No problem, I just wanna know if we
Yep.
just keep track of the list,
Yeah.
because I hear other people, talking about it, so.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yes, I know we're talking about the 250th celebration, but I hope we're not forgetting about the tall ships and what's gonna happen down the point. It's gonna be a blink of an eye, it's gonna be here. And parking situations and everything. I know I brought up before about the parking stickers, if we're gonna move forward with that.
We're getting pricing on those, yeah, we are looking at that. You know, the good thing about the tall ships is, you know, while they're here for a long period of time, for, you know, the impact on Winthrop will be just that one day. You know, they come in, they'll start in the morning, people will work their way out to Deer Island, that's the primary viewing area, and then, you know, like I said, we've got the traffic plan and we'll get that all that information is getting out. We've got an upcoming meeting the next week or the week after, so I'll make sure we get some more information about, we're getting pricing on the parking stickers as well.
Councilor Castellani?
Thank you, Mr. President. Major Marino, thank you for your report this week and the last 2 weeks. Question about the easement language, is that gonna be rolled into the presentation that's planned from the engineering group about presenting that easement language, or are we gonna have a copy of that?
We'll have that, yeah, we probably have it before the night, I mean, we have it, we're just, Attorney Simple just looking over, and then we'll just put it in the draft of a motion, and you guys can consider it and kick it around the rules and, you know, bring back any questions or concerns you might have on it.
Alright, cause it is concerning about access to whatever involved, as long as that's a very good point, maybe we missed it earlier tonight. So we should just make sure we have that.
Yep, Director Cal and I did make sure we addressed a lot of those concerns, because we had similar concerns when we met with them on site, about access and making sure we could get in, and that's why we chose the path we did, and to ensure that we don't put boats on it in the fall and the winter months and things like that, so.
That's all, thank you, Mr. Pataki.
Councilor Costa?
Thank you, Town Council President. As far as 5 foot diameter pipeline, that's awfully large. I mean, there's no clapper valve leading out to the ocean on a 5 footer. So is this the vault size we're looking at here?
No, it's the pipe diameter. So we're looking, so this project, one of the biggest issues over there is capacity, right? So we're trying to create capacity for that drainage system. We got 36-inch pipes, we got a multitude of sizes, but as big as 36-inch pipes coming down, feed into this outfall. So the last thing you wanna do is create a choke point. So we're gonna be able to move that volume of water, you know, without having the choke point that we're currently having right now in Ingleside Park, where we have all that big pipe in the center. We're coming down to you know, a small diameter pipe leading out to the outfall. It's kinda, you know, defeats the purpose of all the upgrades, so that's where they are, and, you know, I mean, they're still trying to see if possibly a 4 foot pipe would work, but last I heard it was leaning towards a 60-inch pipe.
But again, this will not be discharging out into the ocean, stormwater discharge. Correct, you timed this into, is this gonna be in a collection system that's going to lead to the sewage treatment plant, or
No,
is
no,
this going to go out?
This is not
Okay,
sewage.
so it is drainage.
This is going out through a head wall, with a clapper valve, not a duct spill. Large diameter duct spill out into the,
And do you know how large of a pipe that duckbill will be fitted up?
There's still in the process of.
It's gonna be substantially less than 5 feet though,
No,
correct?
it won't be.
We're gonna have a 5 foot check valve, or should I say clapper valve out there?
It will be a large diameter duct spill, not a flat valve, but
And do you know what the size of the pipe that was existing in the easement area is right now, as far as that outfall?
15-inch.
That's a 15-inch. So And again, to Mr. Senate's point, for many years, that has worked wonderfully well. 15-inch, even a 36 diameter pipeline, or even 24, would be substantially more.
15 inches, so we've seen it hasn't worked well, it's been problems for 30 years.
Exactly. So, and the reason I say this is because, I was told that we're not gonna tie anything else into this. It's a pre-existing collection system. I mean, I'm familiar with collection systems and piping and all that stuff. Even trenching, even vaults. So, the vault itself should be in an area that is accessible. I'm in full agreement with the public here. So that design should be really looked at there. As far as the discharge and that pump and that chamber discharging into the ocean, I mean, again, I can guarantee it's not gonna be 5 feet, but I'm just curious as if other areas in that location are gonna be tied into this project, which again is going to elevate its cost. And I know we have other people in the public here. Give us the goal plan here. But we do have an obligation to the public for responsible spending. So again, I'm very curious as to see what that cost is going to be. And secondly, I still want that cost comparative to the existing easement that is there. Can we get away with a 24-inch pipeline? That, again, if it's 15 now, I mean, that's substantial as far as the size. So again, I'm very curious to see the plans, and I will be critical of them as well. And again, I'm just looking at the best means possible to solve the problem as quick as possible. And again, have accessibility to that, and as far as the discharge out into that location. And again, I'll guarantee it's not gonna be a 5 foot clapper valve. I'm gonna say max probably 24-inch. So I'm just putting that out there, so.
It could certainly be reduced with the pump station.
That's exactly what I'm getting at, Director, yes, correct.
But not substantially reduced. You ain't going down to a 12-inch pipe or a 15-inch pipe.
No, I'm looking more, probably around 24.
Probably, on a pump system, probably 36.
And if you put it in a 24-inch pipeline, you need about 2 feet on each end, so we'd be looking at a 6-foot width, 7-foot width.
You gotta understand though.
I'm just going by the engineer's rule of thumb.
You gotta go depth. You gotta create a cofferdam, you gotta control the water. You need at least 20 feet of staging area. We don't have that easy. We don't have that. You gotta, start with a 10-foot, which has already been encroached on. So, you don't have the room to put in that size diameter pipe at the depth that we need to go safely. Or without being extremely expensive and affecting buildings that already exist.
I'll be curious to see that, so that's all I can say about that.
Let the engineers in to explain it all.
Exactly, so I look for the information, I thank you for that, and Director Keller as well, thank you for your input. Appreciate that, thank you, Town Council President and Town Manager.
Full business. Our council discuss ordinance and amendment 17.52.030 use variance. Now that is still in committee, but what I'd like to do to try to keep this process going in a timely manner is introduce a motion that we could send to the planning board. We're gonna have to go to the planning board regardless, so let the planning board do their stuff. We could kick it around in committee and then come back as soon as the planning board comes back and get this done, so.
I'll make a motion.
I am making a motion submitted by Vice President Lettieri that motion that the provisions of section 17.52.030 of the Winthrop Town Ordinance titled Variances be amended by striking the words use or in the first sentence. The amended ordinance shall read as follows. Board of Appeals may authorize a variance from the terms of this title for a particular parcel of land or an existing building where, owing to conditions especially affecting such parcel or such building, but not effectively generally the district in which it is located, a literal enforcement of the provision of this title would involve substantial hardship, financial or otherwise, to the appellate, and where desirable relief may be granted without substantial detriment to the public good, and without nullifying nor substantially derogating from the intent or purpose of this title. Before any variance is granted, the Board of Appeals must find all conditions to be present as specified in General Law, Chapter 48. So basically, the current first sentence says the Board of Appeals may use a variance from the terms of this title for a particular use or parcel of land, and we wanna change that and take out use, so we eliminated the use variance. So I'm sending this to planning board so they can work on it simultaneously, so we can hopefully get this to a resolution and get it before the council vote in a timely manner. Vice President Swope.
I sent you a draft today because I didn't, this is a miscommunication between, at least as I understand it. I'm not serving on Kurt's committee, but I have been there. So Kurt presented, he said at the end of the meeting, he said there are 3 drafts. He said Max sent a draft that just struck use. He said, I have your draft, Kurt said to me. He said, and Kurt said, I was going to add some things that I wanted to put in there, because I understood what you said. So then I see that all of a sudden this draft comes forward. So I have submitted a draft and I would like that to be considered. And I don't know if the planning board wants to take a look at it. I don't know what Kurt has said, but other things, but the only reason I say that, I don't care how it gets done, I'm very concerned about it. I think we all have the same motivation, so I don't know if what you wrote or what I've written or what Kurt's written, what we've all written, what's the best way to say it clearly so that people understand what we mean by not allowing use variance to be a reason for variance. So you'd like to take a look at mine, if you don't like that, that's fine. If the planning board thinks it should be changed, that's great.
Well, you can submit it, because the planning board's gonna hold the public hearing on this, so at that point, they can look at all the different versions, and then they'll send back their recommendations, and ultimately the council can vote what they want, but the planning board hearing is a requirement of 40A.
Yes, I understand.
Yeah, that's the box
That's
they have
not
to
a
check.
problem.
But you guys can vote whatever you want, but you need to have that hearing so the public has a chance to be heard on it.
Thank you,
that's
and
all.
if you wouldn't mind, I don't know who would do that, Denise, if you'll send that on to the planning board.
Sure. I was gonna say, can I make a motion to send, can I make a motion to send Vice President Swope's motion as well? Send both versions to the planning board.
I don't think we can make a motion, but I will make sure that it is sent. We will send, this motion, we will send Vice President Swope's motion, and we will send Council Millar's motion out of committee.
Okay.
Yeah, so this way they could take, because they have to have the public hearing regardless, so that
And
checks
that
that
public hearing
box.
will have all of them, or just the one you submitted now?
No, they'll have all of them.
Okay.
Look at it. And again, they could make any amendments, adjustments they want, ultimately, they're gonna come with a recommendation. Our purview is not necessarily to, we don't need to follow the recommendation, but we need to have a public hearing.
Okay, yeah, that works perfectly,
Okay.
thank you.
So we'll add. Okay. Another one that was in committee, town council vote to approve video recordings of committee meetings to be posted. Now, this motion's been around for a while, and we were trying to get through, and I have a text from, email, I guess, from Mike Cabral, because the thought here was to make sure once we have that recordings, we wanted them to be able to be accessed relatively easily by whoever wants to. So, as long as the meetings are Zoomed, obviously if they were on WCAT, not an issue. But if we have a Zoom of a meeting in the Harvey Room, that link to the Zoom will be sent to WCAT and they will have them. So you'll be able to go to YouTube, WCAT, go to planning board meetings and see a link to every Zoom if it wasn't taped. So
Can we make a motion to take it out of committee?
I don't know if it's still in committee, is it still in committee?
Still,
It's
taking
waiting for
minutes because
information.
a lot of the additional information.
I mean, if we have the information now, I say we vote on it, if that'd be
Yeah,
alright.
I mean, I don't think there's any issue.
Yeah, the only thing, I did talk to Mike Cabral as well today, the only thing I would say on that is he just said we have to make sure we stress to the people hosting the meetings that they clearly define that the meeting has begun
Right.
and that the meeting is ended. Because what happens a lot of times is these meetings aren't officially adjourned, maybe because they're kind of, committees and they don't know all the rules, and then they end up sitting there talking for an extra hour and a half, and that kind of stuff goes on, and we wanna make sure that, it's got a start date and a finish date, so he can just take that video segment and upload it to YouTube, that's all.
Do you have a copy of the vote, Vice President Swope?
I can vote.
Oh, wait a minute, Vice President Swope.
I just have a question.
Yep.
I've been doing my meetings on Zoom, and then usually I have a summary of those meetings. And then I look those over, and if it's accurate, because sometimes it's missed a name or something, then I usually send that on to Denise. So my question, and I think we had this the last time, I'm not sure that that's the most efficient way to do it, because I'm not sure that those minutes stay in a file, and I don't know for how long we have to have them. And so if I download it and send it to Denise and then she sends it on, that's different. So I just wanna be clear in terms of how I should be doing this.
The minutes are still going to be the way they've always
Yeah,
been.
they're available on the
Denise,
website.
Posted on the website.
These are the videos
This
that
is
they
the
want.
video, so you
I
have,
understand.
I mean, the minutes are more or less a Reader's Digest version of what happened. This is a direct version of exactly.
I would also wanna,
You understand that,
I
just one real quick, Jim, you understand that Zoom is giving me a summary of the meeting? Okay, so I just have to make sure that if I'm gonna use those as minutes, I send those on to Denise and she can file them appropriately. Okay, but the Zoom, actual Zoom transcription, how long does that stay?
The recording?
On our account, we have access to it.
Yeah, we have access
But
to
I'm not sure about your private account, but we have access to it.
We
for
have
a while.
access to it, yeah, we
Yeah,
can keep
for
it,
a
yeah.
while.
For a
And
while,
that
but
can- Okay, and that can go to the public, that can,
We will send the Zoom link to Mike will download the video of the Zoom, he takes it, and then he'll take that and turn it into a YouTube video and put it up on their WCAT site. That's what we need,
thank
yeah.
you.
and I just also wanna clarify, this is not a replacement of meeting minutes. We still encourage all committees to submit meeting minutes, as is the law. I think we need to do a better job as a council reminding these committees that they need to be up to date on these minutes. Because they're not only part of the law, it's also important way for people to keep track, even though that they can now hopefully watch these meetings. They should also be able to read minutes as well.
Yes, Council Tessner.
Thank you, Mr. President. So I have a quick question about if there are any costs associated with storage for basically it's gonna be a large video files that are gonna go up on YouTube, I'm guessing, or through WCAT, there's gonna be no cost to us for storing these videos.
No, I already asked Mike that question, he said, no, we can take care of it, and I'll get them up there.
Yes,
And
Council Millar.
just kind of some notes on the background on this too, is that the Zoom meeting itself is not legally required
Correct.
to be had. This is,
Just
we can create this motion and approve the motion, but still legally, from the way I'm reading it, I could be wrong. It has no holding if we don't post it.
No, this is just for meetings that are on Zoom and are held in this room, and we have the ability to send it up, it's being more
It
transparent
makes it easier
for people
for
to
the
view
public
it.
to access. So the requirement is still, we cannot require every meeting to have Zoom.
I think
not
it
part of
says
this
it
motion.
on the, I think it
It's a
says
request
it on
from
the
a
motion that
multi-member.
it's when possible.
When
Yeah,
possible.
yeah, that's in the motion.
Yes, so I just wanna make sure in the motion it says
Yeah, it's just being
when
more
possible.
transparent, the minutes are still gonna be, and should be, and we've gone over this for 2 years with meeting minutes, but the meeting minutes still have to be there. This is just a more in-depth way to
More
look
transparency.
at it, more transparency. Do you have a copy of the motion?
I have it as well.
I have it right here.
I can read it.
No, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, motion submitted by Councilor Romano. Motion, I move that the town council vote to approve all multiple member body meetings that have Zoom or other virtual attendance capabilities shall be recorded and posted to an online video hosting platform or to the town's website within 72 weekday hours after said meeting takes place, whenever doing so is reasonably possible.
Alright, is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Okay. So I just have a, Councilor Romano, question, second by Councilor Costigan.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So this motion is specific to multiple member bodies. Do we wanna amend it to include subcommittees of the council as well? Or is this just, are
yeah.
you talking about?
No, we can do, yeah, I think that's a great idea. So multi-member bodies and council subcommittees.
So there's an amendment to include, where it says multiple member bodies, to include subcommittees of the town council.
Second.
Second by Councilor Finn. Any discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, all those in favor of the amendment, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
You guys have it. So Motion as amended to include all multiple member bodies, boards, and subcommittees of the council. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Council Costigan.
Yes.
Council Tassinari.
Yes.
Council Malab.
Yes.
Council Dimes.
Yes.
Council Romano.
Yes.
Council Reardon.
Yes.
Council Finn.
Yes.
Vice President Swope.
Yes.
President Lettieri.
Yes. Motion passes. Motion to amend Town Council Rules and Procedures 2C, and this came out last meeting with a positive recommendation. We had questions that we asked Attorney Cipolletta to go over. I'll let Attorney Cipolletta, I think he had correspondence with the AG. Can you just tell us what your conclusions are?
President, thank you. My office was requested to analyze and opine on a proposed amendment, which would be to subsection C of Rule Number 2, amending the existing motion by replacing the word unanimous with the word majority. So I submitted this to the clerk's office, and I don't know if it was distributed to the council. But
There was.
okay. So the bottom line is that our current rule of the council, and I'm not sure which, I couldn't pinpoint the date that particular rule, 2 sub C, was adopted. That would be important to an extent because we would have to compare that with when the latest edition of the open meeting law was adopted.
Can you just, I apologize, can you just give a quick synopsis for people in the audience of what we're talking about, what section 2C is?
So section 2C says currently that during the course of a meeting, other than amendments to existing motions, no business shall be considered by the town council unless there is a unanimous vote of the council to waive this rule. There was a proposal to change that to read, other than amendments to existing motions, no business shall be considered by the town council unless there is a majority vote of the council to waive this rule. So in doing the analysis, I started with the current rule and compared that with the requirements of the open meeting law. And the open meeting law, I've attached as an exhibit, the Attorney General's open meeting law checklist, and what needs to be in the notice. And so this is boiling down to be an issue of notice to the public of what business is going to be conducted by the council and what is going to be deliberated and possibly voted on. So the open meeting law requirements are that the agenda must list all topics that the chair of the public body reasonably anticipates will be discussed at the meeting. Now, if after the posting of the agenda, it comes to the attention of the clerk of the council that there may be something else that's going to pop up, then you may amend that agenda that's posted as the official notice. The notice must be specific, itemized, and detailed. And by that, it means that you must list the subject matter, whether any particular speakers will be recognized or presentations made, whether an executive session is anticipated, and whether any vote is anticipated. Our current 2C violates that. And that may have been adopted prior to the latest edition of the open meeting law. I'm not sure. So if our current one requiring a majority is in violation of the open meeting law, then by extension, the amendment to change it from unanimous to majority would likewise. So I made that determination sometime a week or two ago, and I then thought it would be prudent to get in touch with the Attorney General's Open Government Division, which makes itself available to cities and towns for matters such as this, on open meeting law issues. Of course, they emphasize that the office cannot provide legal advice to Winthrop. They say that's my job. But the AG's office did state that the council may consider a topic not listed in the meeting notice only if the circumstances demand immediate action. In all other cases, the Attorney General encourages the postponement of discussion of topics not listed in the meeting notice until it may be included in an agenda properly noticed for a future meeting. So with that analysis and that input from the Attorney General's office, my legal opinion to the council is that both the current and the proposed rule would violate the notice provision of the open meeting law, and that the council take steps to amend the current rule by striking from its words, unless there is a unanimous vote of the council to waive the rule, period, and insert nothing in its place. So basically you would be striking an unlawful rule that is in effect now. That item, I'm not sure how many times that's actually been used, and I can see a scenario where at the end of the meeting and all of the business is done and somebody has asked, a council has asked to speak, says, well, I want to talk about whatever, the color of the garbage trucks. And that was not on the agenda, and the agenda is a public notice to the citizenry. That notice in that public, that open meeting law is for the public's benefit, not for the council's benefit. The council would be doing its job to getting that information out there so that any citizen may look at the agenda like I looked at it tonight. I know what's on that agenda. And the town people who are reading that, either paper form or on the internet, have a right to expect that those are the things that are going to be discussed. Now, there may be something that they're interested in, and it may be, and they're not going to come up, or they're not going to come on Zoom. But it may be the subject that, without notice, then comes toward the end of the meeting, or somewhere during the course of the meeting. The Attorney General's office says, no. You can talk about it and then say, oh, we'll note that, let's put it on the agenda for the next time that a meeting is noticed, and it can be legally advertised. That avoids a lot of trouble. I think it's just a logistic fix. You can do it. You just be kicking it to the next meeting where the public will have the notice, and people interested in that subject who may want to make a presentation, may want to have public comment, or somehow be involved in their government, have the appropriate avenue to do so, and that would be due process. I think that's the right thing to do.
Or potentially, if there was something that wasn't necessarily an emergency but time sensitive, you still could have 4 councilors ask a special meeting and put that item on the agenda.
No, you could, yeah. Yeah, you just couldn't do it that night. Right. So if right now, I don't know, Councilor X says, by the way, we're going to talk about this, and then somebody says, that's really good idea. It's not an emergency, but let's make a motion and it passes. Well, that motion might be fatally flawed. So I think that's the last thing you want to do is think you're doing something and then it gets undone by that state.
Just a question. Did you
Yeah, I just had a question.
Vice President, this one.
I had a question. So if we have a topic on the agenda, right? And we want to talk about that, but it's not stated as clearly. I mean, it's within the realm of the agenda topic, but it's not clear about the motion or whatever. you're saying that we can continue to talk about that with a majority interest, as long as we don't vote on something that is not listed. Is
Yeah,
that
I
what
think
you're
we
saying?
need to take out majority and unanimous. I think we just need to strike that sentence in Rule 2C. What you can do, and what the test would be, is looking at whether or not the topics listed in the agenda are specific, itemized, and detailed. And do those matters that are being discussed comport with that? Are they specific to what is in the agenda? Are they itemized correctly? And do they provide as much detail to give the public?
We don't have that in our, we don't do that in our agenda necessarily.
What's
And
that?
every single topic is not itemized.
Well, no, I mean, these just give
Parameters.
parameters of what you're, and I know it's going to say, we're going to talk about allocating $200,000 for filing, whatever it's going to be. We know what that's going to be. And so long as the subject matter is germane to that, is rationally, has a rational nexus to it, you can do it, and I think you will be well within your right. But something that's far afield, and obviously the state, when they drew these, in the legislature and their conference committees and all of that, and they're doing these open meeting law statutes, just wanted to make sure that there was good notice, at least 48 hours ahead of time, to the public, that there could be, of what could be enacted that would be important to them or to the town broadly. That's all. We don't need to do a real deep dive into this. I think it's a quick fix.
So, Councilor.
With all due respect to Attorney Cipolletta, I think a lot of the stuff you just said isn't particularly relevant to this motion. All the stuff you read is pertaining to the chair, and if the chair reasonably expects something, and this has nothing to do with what the chair expects, it's about what the council decide once the meeting gets started. I haven't read anything in this that would disbar our motion. It was already approved by the Rules and Ordinance Committee, meaning it does not need a second, and I say we should still vote on it today.
Well, I just, I know what you're saying.
And I also just want to make one more thing.
Let Attorney Cipolletta finish, please, and then you can respond.
I apologize, Attorney Cipolletta, please continue.
When it says the chair, it's because the chair is making the agenda. And the chair, or in this case, the president, determines or sets the agenda with the town clerk. What the statute is doing is pointing out and emphasizing the responsibility of the president or the chair. It's not that the chair expected, because the chair will expect it if by Thursday, or what the time is that the proposed matters and motions need to be submitted, then the chair or the president expects that that's what's going to happen, right?
Yeah.
So I understand what you're saying, but that's not the intent or the purpose of that part of the statute. And I understand that because it is the chair who is responsible, in this case, president, of complying with those 4 items that govern how a matter is described in the agenda, which is the notice. So that's the way it would go. So if one councilor didn't or 2 or 5 didn't anticipate that it was going to come up, that doesn't matter because it talks about the chair in this case.
But my whole point is you're talking about like the intent of this law, and I'm not really worried so much about the intent as what the law actually says. I haven't read anything that says the intent of the law is specifically stopping new things from being added once the meeting gets started. If they want to do that, they should have outlined that specifically. There's nothing in the law that specifically stops that. Not to mention, if according to our town charter, a motion cannot be passed through all of its stages in one meeting unless all the councilors complicit with it. Council privilege allows any council to object and push off the motion to the meeting after. So even so, if we change the word to majority, a motion cannot be passed in the course of a single meeting unless the whole council agrees to it. So, I mean, we should never run into the issue where something's brought up in one meeting and passed in the middle of the night unless the whole council is complicit. So that's not really a concern.
Okay, the first two sentences that you said, just repeat that back to me because I have an explanation for that, but I want to make sure that.
About the intent of the law, that part?
Yeah, it doesn't matter what the intent of the law is,
Yeah,
what
I
the law
agree.
says.
Yeah, and I don't think the law only talks about the chair, it doesn't talk about the whole.
That's the chair, it's the president, because
Yes,
the
and it's
president.
not the president that wants to add things to the agenda, it's the majority of the council.
Nobody can add things to well, you can add it to the agenda, but it has to be posted, it has to be noticed in accordance with the open meeting law.
Yeah,
In
before
those requirements, I mean, if it's not on the agenda, it's not on the agenda.
there's nothing in this law that says that. I have the law in front of me, I'm sorry, please refrain from the facial expressions.
Please, don't speak until you recognize, you just speak, try.
I wasn't talking to you, Attorney Sibyl, I
Okay.
people behind you,
All right,
I
thanks.
apologize. No,
Yeah.
you've been very respectful, and I appreciate your legal opinion, and I know it comes from an intelligent place, it's just I just.
No, I know what you're saying, but I think you're reading a little too much into the law. Even though it doesn't say it, it tells you what you can't do. And you can't take up things that are not noticed.
It says the chair can't take up things.
Well, the
Councilor Romano, please wait for me to recognize you.
Because the chair, number one, writes the notice, and number two, runs the meeting and determines what is going to be taken up and what is not. The chair can't take it up if it's not noticed. Just can't do it. I mean, I know we can do this as a good high-level intellectual exercise all night, but I'll tell you, when the Attorney General's office, who deals with 351 cities and towns, in the open government section says you can't do it, I believe them. I came to my conclusion first. I didn't tell them what my conclusion was. I just said, I want to pass this on as our count to make sure our council does this right. And that's what I read to you was what they told.
And I will say, Councilor Romano just said, for example, his point, I think, was that someone could use a council privilege, so unless you unanimous. However, if the council unanimously wanted to do something that was on the agenda, this gives them the opportunity to do it without informing the public, and that's what we're trying to alleviate.
But what if nobody uses their
Right, well, same thing, but
their privilege? Then you have an illegal motion passed.
Councilor.
My question was that if we took up a motion unanimously, even if with the existing language, or if we took it up with the majority and we passed the motion in one session, that still could be struck down in court. I mean, it's we're risking. It's a lot of. We're taking on a lot of risk to keep that in our council rules, because there could be other liability that is incurred once we pass a motion that's illegal.
The point, and if I may say, the point of this, I assume, would be that if there are multiple motions coming on a Wednesday or Tuesday or Thursday before the meeting, and the chair, in this case me, chooses not to put it on the agenda, this is given other councils the opportunity to get it on the agenda. I guess the point is, if the council president just put, unless something's outrageous, stuff on the agenda, there really would be a need for this regardless, which is again protecting the open meeting.
But you could put it on the agenda, you just have to amend your agenda, even if it's within the 48 hours.
You can amend the agenda within 48 hours
That's
once it's first posted.
That's what it says here.
Just wanted to make sure.
If something comes to the attention of the council or to the president that wasn't anticipated, whatever your cutoff date is, that Thursday. If it comes to his attention on a Friday and it's something that you want to take up, so long as you post it, and you post it in a conspicuous place, even though it's beyond the time, you're still covered, so long as it's posted.
Any other questions? Councilor Tassinari, and then.
Thank you, Council President. I think, didn't we pass a different, change of the council rules where as long as there was a majority of councilors who wanted something on the agenda, the president would put that on the agenda? Didn't we do that 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, last meeting, yeah.
So wouldn't that
Yes,
alleviate the
yes.
need for this? Because it's not like the chair would,
Correct.
any chair would be able to block a motion once the, majority of the council would like to see it on the agenda.
Right.
Yeah, you would like to think so, yes.
Again, please wait to be recognized, Councilor Martin. You are not the chair now of this meeting. Okay, so we have a motion. Councilor Dimes.
Thank you. Just want to recognize Attorney Sabletta's time and effort that they put into this, the research and the communication to the council. It's very clear. I just want to urge the council to realize that we are here to serve our constituents, the residents of Winthrop. Why would we ever consider passing something that is a violation of the Massachusetts state open meeting law? End of story. We're here to be transparent. That's what we all want. Why would we ever defer from that? Please consider that in the situation. Thank you.
Councilor, Vice President, please, Vice President Swope.
I just want to understand, so I just want to make sure that I'm clear about what you just said. After Councilor Tassinari just said that we voted 2 weeks ago, if 4 people want something on the agenda, they can put it on the agenda, and they can put it on the agenda if it's later than the 48 hours?
Earlier. Yes.
It has to be earlier, is that right?
Yeah, only if it was not, if it was not anticipated. But if 4 people are anticipating it, then
That's
you can't
different,
use
but
that.
if it was an unusual circumstance, and 4 people asked that it be on the agenda, then that would go.
The AG says that it has to be something that would
It's
need immediate attention.
Yeah, right.
And a little bit shy of emergent, but,
Right. Right.
important enough.
Okay, so that covers that. So in addition to that, if the chair decides not to put something on the agenda that 4 people want, is there any restriction that, or is that the deciding motion?
So long as it's timely, you can do it. I think the council did it a couple weeks ago, or maybe it was last month. There was a meeting that 4 councilors put something on the agenda, and then they had a meeting, and the meeting was postponed or whatever. But so long as it's noticed.
It was canceled.
Yeah, okay, whatever. So, yeah, I mean, you can do it that way. I think that's a cleaner way to do it, because you now have a rule that's probably more effective than the one that's been sitting there as 2C, which is probably outdated or overrun by the open meeting law.
It's only the timing of it, sometimes it's
It
just
is, I know.
tough, you know.
It's
It's cumbersome, but it's, okay.
And we live in a different age. People have, different ways of receiving information, and the town has different ways, either imparting information, but we don't want to be on the other side of an AG challenge, because we're already fighting with them in enough points.
Councilor,
I have a question on how do AG challenges work?
I'm sorry?
How does, if the Attorney General were to challenge, us make a vote like this, how would that challenge work?
Somebody would make a report to the AG generally, or they would discover it on their own. But see, it would be different because this is a rule, not an ordinance. The AG has closer eyes on ordinances, but rules, somebody would have to make a notice or a complaint or a letter to the open what division they call themselves. The Open Government Division, that's all they do is open. And so if somebody sends them a notice, they will investigate.
I did follow up.
Councilor Matt.
In that situation, what would happen? The Attorney General would just strike down the rule?
I don't know. They have the authority to. You see the Attorney General's been very aggressive with us in a lot of different ways, but I would say yes, if they felt that it was against the public good and it deprived somebody of due process or proper notice, they would probably send some kind of enforcement, say, just do it over, or whatever. I just haven't handled any cases where the AG had to do an enforcement action on a council rule that, or a motion that was passed under the defective council rule. I'm sure it happens, but I haven't seen it happen here.
So the worst case is the Attorney General strikes down the law if they find it illegal.
They may strike down whatever was adopted.
Okay.
Councilor Tassinaro. Thank you, Council President. I would say that would not be the worst case. The worst case would be we incur some other kind of liability, financial or otherwise, based on a motion that we passed that was not properly noticed to the public. I think that would be the worst. That's the risk. Not that the Attorney General just strikes down what we passed. We incur some other kind of liability because we've done damage to some other business, person, entity, whatever. That's the worst case.
Other risk is the reputation of the council with the citizens of the town who elected us to do it.
That's good. Thank you, Council President. That's an even better risk, because then that's a risk of violating the trust of our constituents. So.
Okay, Councilor Milan.
Appreciate you looking into this and sending that out to us. I think the concern here is that potentially that what we're trying to do is just keep pushing this down the road. We're not. We just want to make sure we're well versed on all sides of how we want this to work out for the best for the council and actually for everybody in the community, so they understand how the flow will work. So our constituents should know with reasonable amount of time what's going to be on the agenda. I think that's a fair thing to do, transparent to our constituents. I've always heard they want more transparency. Transparency isn't putting something on our agenda last minute. So I think this is where they just, as Councilor Romano said, someone could just use their privilege and say, nope, don't talk about it. But do we want to set the precedence that we're not going to follow open meeting law intentionally? And if we vote that in, then as a council, we're kind of responsible for saying, okay, yeah, we're just not going to do this now. So I think we benefited when we voted into B to have the 4 councilors put something on the agenda. That's a big win. I think it's beneficial and it's helpful. Where I land on this, I go back and forth. I feel sometimes there is a topic that could be potentially important. An emergency, the council president gets to determine that. That's written in there. Having the decision of a majority say that this is an emergency or urgent is different than just trying to put a topic on the agenda. If it's just a topic, we've already said yes. I think we need to set a level of what is considered urgent if we're going to move forward with this. If it's just because you want something on the agenda coming up and it's not urgent, they're kind of misusing what's written in here. It should only be used as a urgent motion forward, in my opinion, if we're going to not follow the open meeting law.
I would just want to follow up on that by saying, if you want to talk about an argument for striking down C, that's in essence a different conversation than this motion, because in practicality, a majority getting it on the floor of the council and then one person could use council privilege, that's the same thing as saying the only way it can fully continue is if it's unanimous. If you get what I'm trying to say.
Again, from Attorney Cipolletti's explanation, anything, the original, the way it's written now, having a unanimous having something come up last minute unanimously is against the open meeting law. Having something coming up with majority is against the open meeting law. Technically, trying to get something passed potentially that might be divisive to the town or in any way, shape, or form. It wouldn't be a financial thing for the most part because it would usually go through finance. But, you know, we just asked the citizens for $4.95 million for the schools. And they did that, and they did that. Now there are times where they're not happy with me or the council or whoever, but there has to be a level of trust there to, you know, agree to put out more of your hard-earned money to the town. Anything we do to diminish that level of trust. And I don't think the intention is to sneakily get something passed, but again, and we've talked about this with different rules, it's the perception of it, and the perception to try to argue about doing something that has been told to us in many different forms that it's not the right thing to do, and they keep trying to argue a point to find a way to do it anyway, it's to me beneath the office that we hold. I mean, you know, there are things that we all do that people in the audience disagree with. But I think for the most part, they respect the work we do and think we have the best intentions. It might be different than theirs, the means to the end. But to me, this is blatantly saying, okay, I have a recommendation, but I'm willing to bypass it. I just think this is a motion that should just be withdrawn, and we should move on. And we should all do better, including myself, making sure things get on the agenda in a timely manner.
The one thing I will add, and I don't know, I mean, the Attorney General's office, according to the SJC, now has a lot more power than when they want to punish cities and towns than what a lot of people thought they had. You see people get fined for violation of the ethics law. You see people get fined for violating, let's say, the public records law. I mean, open meeting law too, you could get fined. And one of the things we hear it a lot now, coming out of Washington, coming out of the state capitol, they passed that in the middle of the night without a single no vote. And it's all, you know, it's perception. It's perception. And if you want the perception of being transparent, I think you need to avoid that. And I'm not saying that, you know, people a lot of times, if they disagree with what you do, are going to impute a malicious motive because they don't agree with you. So they're going to say, it was passed in the middle of the night and they kept us in the dark and they never told us. That's going to happen. But that happens. And it may not be true. But again, back to the, you know, your credibility, your transparency promise, and, you know, your easy fix by just putting it on the next meeting. I don't think it's worth the risk.
Vice President Swope.
I just want to add, I don't think anybody's talking about passing a motion at the same meeting it's been brought up. We wait and we don't even, we don't do that. So that was not the issue. The issue is, could we get it on the agenda at all? That's it.
Alright, there's a motion on the table.
I would also just want to say, I am never for just in one meeting, all of a sudden, middle of the night, council submits a motion, council passes a motion, council moves on, it's on the agenda. I promise personally that as long as I'm on the council, I'll never let that happen. So that's all I need to do.
So there's a motion on the table now. Does somebody wish to continue with the motion? Sorry.
Vote.
No, I want to know, is somebody, who made the motion originally?
My motion.
Councilor Romano has made the motion. Do you wish to continue with the motion?
Yes, for a vote.
Okay. There's a second. Did this come out of?
It came out of committee with a positive recommendation.
Councilor Romano,
Sorry.
please let me run the meeting. I mean, I apologize, but I can't keep saying it
I thought you were
15
asking
times a meeting.
I thought that was
All right, any further discussion?
Did you come out of the meeting with a positive recommendation, Jim?
Yes, it did. At the time, it came out with a positive recommendation without the knowledge of the evidence that we've just heard. Councilor Tassinari.
I just want to clarify, a yes vote would be to amend the language that is currently non-conforming to open meeting law to more language that's still non-conforming to open meeting law. Is that correct? Okay.
Councilor Costi.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with Mr. Romano and Councilor Swope as it relates to, there are safeguards in place where council privilege can be played, and we will not be approving any motion. It's a long process, and every other councilor has the option to vote yes or no. It's not done in one night. So I object.
Councilor Dimes.
I feel like I need to, thank you, Town Council President. I feel like I need to repeat myself one more time because I don't know if everyone is hearing this. We are here to serve our constituents and the residents of the town of Winthrop. When we are going to make a motion to put something on an agenda without giving proper notification to our constituents, we are not doing our job. How do you not understand that? Thank you.
Any other discussion?
Council President, I'm sorry for dragging this up. Just to kind of comment on Councilor Dimes' position, we are here for the betterment of the town for our constituents. They should be able to attend 2 meetings where we're having this discussion. There shouldn't be one meeting where it's a new surprise agenda item. Sorry, you didn't make it. You don't get to talk about it or make a public comment on it. They should have 2 opportunities, two meetings to discuss. I believe the public's entitled to that.
Voting. I'm sorry, why are you voting?
Excuse me, please.
I'm sorry, why are you voting? That's the question, right? Why are you voting? It's in violation of the law.
Let me also just state, there is no conversation here. Let me just state also that councilors can make promises not to vote. If this law passes, they can bring up an agenda item and vote. They can say no, but they still can as long as unanimous. I mean, right, it might not be an issue that is controversial to the council, but it could be an issue that's controversial to the town. One more comment and then I'm moving the question. Councilor Amata.
I would be very surprised if a controversial issue could ever get passed in one meeting without a single councilor objecting. And I am doing this, in my opinion, in the best interest of the town. I have no reason to harm any of the public. I disagree with a lot of the conjecture, to be quite frank, by Attorney Cipolletta about the town council's reputation from this. I find it really hard to imagine all these scenarios we talk about where the town council, middle of the night, passes something and damages our reputation unless, like I said, the whole council is complicit in. Looking at all of you today, I trust almost each and every one. No, not almost. I trust. That was unfair. I didn't mean to say almost. I do trust. No, I didn't. I do trust each and every one of you, and I can't imagine something. That was not the truth, Jack. I trust each and every one of you.
Because my name was mentioned, it's not conjecture, and I'm not here to give a lecture on politics or policy. I don't do that. I don't make policy. I don't run your political agenda. I'm telling you what the law is. And when someone said, I can't imagine this ever happening, and I just heard 3 times on TV today, somebody saying, well, they did this, they did that, because people will do that. I don't take that into consideration when I make a legal opinion. I take the law, I take the case law, I take the facts, and then whatever other authority is there. I call it the way it is. I call them a lot of times. I don't like what I have to say, but it is what it is. And so I'm not making conjecture, I'm giving.
Okay, I'm gonna move the question. Before I move the question, I have to ask the attorney to protect myself. Is it legal for me to ask for a vote on a question that's been deemed unlawful?
I don't see how you can't.
Okay. That's it. Move the question. Roll call, please.
Councilor Costigan.
Yes.
Councilor Tassinari.
No.
Councilor Millar.
No.
Councilor Dimes.
No.
Councilor Romano.
Yes.
Councilor Reardon.
Yes.
Council Finn,
Yes.
Vice President Swope.
No.
President Lettieri.
Motion does not pass. Moving on. Town Council Review Ordinance Committee Recommendation Scooters. This is something that, we discussed as a council and with the police chief a year ago, and I think the thought was that this was pretty much under control with the use of scooters. This is now in committee. Still in committee, and today we'll be having another meeting on this. We asked, I think the thought of this was to prohibit the use of scooters in certain town areas like parks and public spaces. So this is still in committee, needs some more discussion, and also I'd like to ask if you could ask the police chief to attend this next meeting. On this, scooters? Sure. Vice President Swope.
Generally, on all of these, I don't know if we can do anything about moving things along, but these have been installed and moving from ordinance to planning to whatever. We are spending, months on these things, so I'm wondering if we can, as a council, try to facilitate this and make some decisions about the amount of time that it takes. We just had a planning committee, I'm sorry, the variance committee, I always think that committee mixed up, that just canceled 2 meetings. And so now we're already into very late in making these decisions, so I'm urging, I don't know what we can do about that.
I've said for 20 plus years that municipal government is ridiculously slow, and I 100% agree with you. I don't think, like the scooters, I don't think it's a controversial item. I think people want to make sure that we're safe about it. It just has to go through a process, and I'm hoping that it will come out in the next meeting. Town Council Review Ordinance Recommendation from Tree Committee. Now, there's also a is this from Attorney Subletta also? I'm sorry?
That's what the planning
Planning
board, because it's zoning.
So we're just presenting it, do I have to, want me to read your recommendation? Let's go.
It's very short.
This is a memorandum in legal opinion.
Yes. I have to, that's,
Short.
maybe that wasn't the one that was short, maybe the easement was short.
This was sent out to.
No, I understand that. So we're just sending this.
It's a motion to send it to the planning board, yeah, and they can, when they schedule the hearings, they can do them both.
Oh, I'm sorry, it isn't, it's dated 14 May.
Correct.
Yeah, and it's, the reason it's long is because
Motion to waive the reading. Motion by Councilman Miles, second by Vice President Swope. All those in favor of waiving the reading?
Aye.
Opposed, no, the ayes have
you
it.
saved a lot of people.
We move to the new business. Town Council vote to appropriate certified free cash revolving funds closeout of fiscal 26. This will be sent to finance. Town Council vote to authorize unpaid bills of the prior year. That will be sent to finance. Proclamation Juneteenth, Councilor Castaneda.
Thank you, Council President. This motion is for the council to approve the following proclamation recognizing June 19, 2026 as Juneteenth National Independence Day in Winthrop. The proclamation reads as follows. Whereas Juneteenth, federally and locally observed annually on June 19, commemorates the day in 1865 when enslaved African Americans in Galveston, Texas were informed of their freedom more than 2 years after President Abraham Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation. And whereas June 19th is recognized as the oldest nationally celebrated commemoration of the ending of slavery in the United States, it stands as a symbol of the long continuing struggle for racial equity, justice, and the celebration of African American culture, heritage, and achievement. Whereas the observance of Juneteenth is an opportunity to learn, contemplate, and re-energize the values of community cooperation and inclusivity, which are cornerstones of the town of Winthrop. And whereas the town of Winthrop celebrates the diversity in our residents and recognizes that the impact of our African American neighbors on the vibrant fabric of our community is indelible and deserving of recognition, acknowledgement, and commitment to ensure continued equality for all. And whereas the town of Winthrop recognizes the importance of acknowledging this significant date in American history and affirms its commitment to fostering a more inclusive, unified, and just society. Now therefore be it resolved that the Winthrop Town Council does hereby proclaim June 19th, 2026 as Juneteenth National Independence Day in the town of Winthrop, and be it further resolved that in honor of this day, the Juneteenth flag shall be flown at the E.B. Newton Cultural Center in accordance with the town ordinance on Friday, June 19th, 2026 as a symbol of remembrance, celebration, and unity.
Proclamation's been made. Any discussion on the proclamation? All right, and I will say again, I am going to support this proclamation because I believe in the merits of it. I do not believe, though, that we should be raising 2 flags a year. I think 3.5 years ago, Councilor DeRoss sat in that chair and made a proclamation, which I was against, and, I don't even know if he got to make it. I think he had an idea which basically, I don't believe that we should be very specific and only raise 2 flags a year. I mean, personally, I believe we should just raise the American, the state, and the POW flag. However, if we have a policy that the majority agrees on, we should do it in its totality. Now, I disagreed with Councilor DeRoss 3 years ago, but at this point, if this is the policy that the council chooses to use, it should be used fairly, and it should have maybe a committee to look at all the months of the year and all the ethnicities and people and whatever, and take a look at it. I am not in favor of doing that, but I think to just single out 2 groups and say those are the important people that we need to raise a flag for is insanity. And I think we should either take a look at the flag policy and divert back to what it was, or make it inclusive for every month and have a flag, and town manager, I'm sure, would love to buy some flags and do it. So anyway, my diatribe on this, I will move the question of roll call, please.
Councilor Costigan,
Absolutely, yes.
Councilor Tasneri,
Yes.
Councilor Malab,
Yes.
Councilor Dimes,
Yes.
Councilor Romano,
Yes.
Councilor Reardon,
Yes.
Councilor Finn,
Yes.
Vice President Swope, President Lettieri.
Yes. Motion, proclamation passes. Town council review ordinance, I'm sorry, out of order. MBTA letter, Councilor Romano.
Yes, so I don't know if you want me to read the whole letter or just give a gist of it.
You can give it just, because I think it's pretty much what we've sent in the past, but you just wanna.
Yeah, I just want to reiterate the fact that the MBTA is planning on new bus line which would stop service down the point at the landing. It would prevent, I don't know if prevent's the word, but it would no longer provide services for people past the landing, which that's very important for people in my precinct especially, who rely on the bus lines. I mean, we all know the point's the most remote part of town. I don't think we should be losing sight of those people, so that's why I made this motion. I titled it "To Whom It May Concern." I don't know. I'm okay with if you want to change the intro, or I don't know how to sign it.
We have.
Yeah, sincerely, I'm gonna do that. I also just want to personally thank my friend Maddie Miller, who helped me write this motion. She rides the buses a lot. She had a lot of great ideas, so I'd like to personally thank her.
Thank you, Councilor, tell me.
Yeah, if I could jump in on this, I waited to talk about it because this might be some good news. I called to get an update on the bus shelters, which I included in my town manager report, and while I was doing that, I received some information that word has got to the state and they are considering changing it. They knew it was on the agenda. They had received formal letters from Council Belcher, former Council Belcher, has sent in, and also the one that you want to draft. There is going to be a public forum on this, and I think us and maybe 5 or 6 other bus route changes are going to be considered to be reopened up and can change to maybe include going back out to Deer Island and including the rest of the point. So that's it's on June 6th, June 15th. I'll get you more information once I have it. But your letter, I told them once we had it, we'd submit that as public comment as well.
Is that just because we finished paving Shirley Street? That they're
I have no idea, I'm just telling you that.
Alright, so I still
The
consider.
word I got
something
was
we
they
should send
heard
a
what we
letter.
said and they're willing to make the change, so.
Okay, I think we should continue our support and send a letter, Councilor Devine.
I also just want to thank Town Manager Romino for following up on this and for asking, for getting this information to us. I really appreciate that, so thank you.
Any discussion on sending the letter? There's a motion by Councilor Amato, it was seconded by Councilor Vice President Swope. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no, the ayes have it, thank
One
you.
abstention, Mr. President.
One abstention, Councilor Tassinaro. That's one different. Okay, public comment. Celeste.
Celeste Rivera Hewitt, Precinct 1, I have lots to say. First, on the flag issue, and I feel like we've had this conversation before, President Lettieri, when you mentioned a few years ago, I don't know what the big deal is about a flag. As a member of the CDICR, I support raising every single flag. I'll be out there, I'll help you. If you want the Italian flag, the Jewish flag, the Portuguese, Polish flag, those are my people, I'll be out there. But why these two specifically? These two specifically marginalized groups in our nation that were harmed deeply and very personally and at the cost of their lives by this nation. And these are observances that are nationally and state observed. They should be the starting point. Should they be the stopping point? Possibly not, but they should be the starting point. Now, pivoting to this whole exchange tonight, as many of you have said, as many of you who voted the right way tonight, your number one job is to represent every single resident in this town, give the opportunity for them to weigh in and participate in their government. Because they weigh in and participate in their government, you're all sitting there now. No one up there believes that there have not been instances in recent memory that folks have gone away with the perception that there was violation of open meeting law behind the scenes before any of you hit the tables prior to meetings, okay? So your secondary role should be to preserve, as President Lettieri said, the integrity of the council, the integrity of the operations at this table and in this building. Okay, that's the number one and number two jobs. And the fact that many of you, were willing to disregard the legal opinion of the town's attorney to advance this negates any other assertion that we should have faith in the way that you would proceed should that be moved forward. And lastly, if anybody has a problem with my facial expressions, I'll give you my husband's cell phone. You guys should start a club. And he earns every single facial expression as well. Thank you.
The town manager kind of
Karen Chavez.
ruined, Karen Chavez, sorry, precinct 2, kind of ruined what I was gonna say, but I'm gonna say it anyways, because I gave this a lot of thought after I read Councilor Romano's letter. It said as the FY27 budget process starts, I am drawn to the cherry sheet. There are five items for offset receipts and 8 items for offsets and charges. One of these charges is MBTA for $478,504. I'm not exactly sure what this total amount is for. Is for the privilege of having a bus service that will soon be inadequate for the 1.6 square miles of Winthrop? Is it the privilege of having unprotected bus stops when the weather is inclement? Is it the privilege of having a ferry with overpriced fares that is owned by the town, that berths at the public landing and is maintained by the town of Winthrop? If you talk to the regular riders of the bus, 712 or 713, they will tell you that the ridership count is not accurate. When the MBTA is not available for Winthrop, a Paul Revere bus is used, and that doesn't count riders. I have no idea how many Winthrop residents will be affected by the new bus route. If it's only one, that's one too many. We are a small town that many people rely on public transportation to get to the Blue Line. Are there Winthrop Public School students who are ineligible for school transportation that need the bus to get to school? The MWRA plant is also a consideration. Are there employees that use this service? Too many letters have been sent to the MBTA. Too many letters have gone unanswered. It's time, and again, for the MBTA to listen to Winthrop.
and not decrease our service, but at least maintain what we have. They've already changed things, so you have to change buses just to leave the town, or maybe just get from one point to another. I don't have the answer to the problem. I do not use public transportation, but I do have friends that do. Winthrop already pays outrageous tunnel tolls, unlike East Boston. East Boston pays 20 cents. On the Chiltern Bridge, for the Chelsea residents, they pay 15 cents. When is the council and the town manager, and I apologize for this, going to have the MBTA come to Winthrop, explain the reasoning for all the changes to the people it matters to, the daily rider, come up with a solution for the problem. In closing, yes, Governor Healy, bring more housing units to Winthrop and continue to make it harder for residents to leave town for work, education, health needs, or just pleasure. The other comment I want to make too is I've been involved with open meeting law for a long time now. And one time, the advisory committee that I was on prior to finance, we were in violation of open meeting law. And we were brought to task on that by the then town clerk, who was Paul Dawson. So that goes back a lot of years. So listen tonight for 4 councilors to vote something that's in complete opposition of the open meeting law. I think that's a disgrace.
Good. Sorry. No, you can go. He can go first.
I didn't think there could be another meeting worse than the rules and ordinance meeting that I attended.
Can you please state your name and please?
I didn't think there'd be a worse meeting, rules and ordinance meeting that I attended last week. This takes the cake. Up until a monkey wrench was thrown into the works, a person that's supposed to be loyal to the majority of this council. I don't understand it. I don't have a good explanation. You vote, didn't explain your vote. Say why. You just said no. I expect an answer very quickly. I did attend a couple of your sessions on Wednesday nights. Believe me, I will never do that. Completely useless. And, I'm not here for your entertainment. Thank you. Yes.
Can I just have a second? Just absorbing. Okay, sorry. Erin Barcelos, Precinct 5. So, open meeting laws. They're there for us so that we show up and we are actually engaged. As you see, there's a handful of us in here. I have no idea how many people are online, but we need to have more people engaged, right? Isn't that the hope, right? We want to keep bringing more people engaged. I don't trust a lot of what comes out of this. Last year's town council, it was hit or miss. There's always going to be things that I disagree with, and that's okay. That's my right? But the blatant disregard to the actual laws is, I don't even have the words for it. So, just going back to open meeting laws, the special meeting on April 8th. It was scheduled for 7:30. That agenda was amended at 4:09 p.m., so 3 hours before that meeting, by the way. During that amendment, what was amended was to add the move to amend B and C, 2B and 2C. That was what was added to that. No, okay. Sorry, can you not shake your head and give me that? Sorry, I appreciate it.
Please, continue.
Also, public record requests. I put a public record request in on or around for April 15th or 16th. On May 5th, I received an email asking for an extension due to the information I had requested. The people that needed to provide that information had been notified, but were not actually providing that information. So again, following rules and laws. I don't even know what else. But yeah, so we're gonna disagree on things. It is what it is. But when it is blatantly
like disregarded? How, I don't understand. Like, what is the point of showing up? Like, what is the point of showing up? I'm gonna continue to show up. And also just my thing. Come see us on Saturday on the bridge, 10 to 12. Thanks.
Thank you, this has been a very long meeting. Marcy Hamilton, Precinct 2, and I will be showing up. And I hope that all of you have a copy of the Climate Commission's plan that was put in place to save this community. We need our Climate Commission back in action, and it is real, and we need to fund it. And we need to listen to the engineers that are gonna be providing the information at the next meeting. I will be here, and I hope everybody brings their listening ears and their quiet voices to the next meeting. That's what we say in daycare. This has been very excruciating to watch and to listen to. Let's be respectful, let's understand the law. And I thank Mr. Cipoletta for explaining things over and over again. I appreciate your effort. We may not always agree, but I'm gonna be here until this is fixed. Thank you.
Yeah, let's go online first.
Lisa, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hi, good evening, everybody. I have two comments, both are positive.
Lisa, just your name and
First-
precinct, please.
Oh, I'm sorry, Lisa Plotnick, Precinct 6.
Thank you.
Apologies for that. Two comments, both positive. First, I am very happy to hear about the shuttle service that's going to be running for the 250 celebration. In addition to helping to, calm any traffic, that is a big deal for those of us who don't own our own cars. It will enable us to get down there and be part of the celebration. So thank you very much for that. The other comment is about the MBTA, and again, very happy to hear the words of support tonight. I appreciate the conversations that are going on with the MBTA. I just would like to make one suggestion for when we do have the conversations. Very often the people at the T will cite a passenger survey that they did a couple of years ago as the reasons that they made the decisions that they did. If that happens again, I would suggest asking them for the specific part of that survey, those results that they're referring to, because so far nothing that I have seen in my analysis of the data that has been made public support the decisions that the T has made regarding the cuts in our service. So if they could just be more specific as to, just not just citing the survey, but citing the exact part of the survey, that would be very helpful moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Terry.
Just thank Terry Delaney, Precinct 6. I haven't changed. When it comes to engineering and laying pipe, as much as I, are entertained by the comments, I do trust Steve Calla. He constructed the entire sector. His engineering crew, we put 50-inch pipe down there, not just to take care of the problem of today, but to take care of the problem of the future. And when the high tide came in on Donovan's Beach and all the valves are stuck, we have capacity for storage. So again, they do this every single day of the week. And when I was the police chief and the town manager, I helped manage the center project, and they did a very good job. I think no one has complaints, so that's a positive thing, right? I know I started the meeting by saying, yes, we want to be fiscally responsible, we do. But we don't want to do a project today and then 3 years from now, five years from now, do the same project again. Because then now the prices have skyrocketed by 5 years. What's the cost me today would then triple or quadruple by the time that's 5 years go. So that's the first thing. Thank you again for not violating not just my statutory rights, but my constitutional rights to redress my government. So that's one thing school departments constantly get sued for in Massachusetts is stemming the person's right to redress their government. If I don't know what's on the agenda, I can't come and redress the government. It's important for me to know what's on the agenda, so we're not just looking at a statutory violation, a constitutional violation under the state constitution, and then possibly a 42 USC 1983 violation for a federal constitutional right violation. Mr. Cipolletta, I'm sure, can give you a nice lesson in 42 USC 1983, since I know he represented a lot of people when it comes to that. So, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and again, just for upcoming events, there's a Memorial Day celebration as always at 9:30 at the Old Cemetery on Bowden Street. I encourage people to attend. It's one of the nicest things this town does. And thank you to our veteran officer, Phil Ronan. And also graduation for Winthrop High School next Friday night, the 29th at 6 p.m. at Miller Field. Seeing no further business in front of the council, I consider this meeting adjourned.
Thank you.